Hello, guys. David Vose here. Well, it's another beautiful day in paradise here in New Mexico, and hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, guys, have you ever seen the planet Venus go directly in front of the moon? Well, I guess it does from time to time. The Venus usually stays very close to the moon. A lot of times you'll see the moon, a lot of times you'll see Venus. But if you look carefully, you'll see there are times where Venus literally can be seen traversing across the moon. Well, when you ask AI, why does Venus look like it's in front of the moon, they kind of don't know what to say. They say, well, because Venus is brighter than the moon. Well, okay, but it's behind the moon. That shouldn't affect whether or not you could see it. I mean, if it's behind the moon, you shouldn't be able to see it. But of course, they say that you can't see it. And this is why. Because the Venus is tens of millions of miles further away. So it's impossible. So what you're seeing, your lying eyes are just lying to you. And actually, it's just an illusion. Yep. NASA says it's just an illusion. Well, if NASA says it's an illusion, then we just got to accept that, even though we can see Venus is closer to the Earth than the moon. And we know the moon isn't very far because there's such detail. You can literally see contour and craters. Take a look at this.
I spray gas in the car.
Nice.
Now, that gas, due to entropy, spreads out in all directions, fills up the car. Now, what happens when we open the windows of that car to the gas?
Well, then the gas inside the car will blend with the air outside the car, and it will disperse accordingly, of course.
Outside.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the exact same way, all of our air that we're breathing should disperse into the infinite vacuum, and we'd have no air to breathe.
But if there's no pressure, let's say the car is in a vacuum. We got a box of gas in a vacuum. And then we opened up top, bottom, left or right side, put a hole in it. Instantly and violently, it's going to fill the available space, just like I'm showing here.
100%. If the car was pressurized on the inside,
right,
and outside the car it was a perfect vacuum, the moment you rolled down the windows, it would... the air would escape into the vacuum.
And we have some gas.
Yes.
And as soon as we open the valve, the gas defies gravity, because gas defies gravity, and it goes up and away from gravity right here on Earth. But we're told the gas gets thinner and thinner and thinner until it's a vacuum. That's ridiculous. How do we have a vacuum, a Tor 17 vacuum, next to a pressurized atmosphere without a container?
That violates the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, let's talk then. If you have a container with two chambers and a wall separating them, and one chamber is pressurized to atmospheric, whatever, pressure, 14.7 psi, and the other one is completely in vacuum. If you remove that separation, then both chambers the air from the pressurized chamber will rush into the volume of the vacuum chamber, and they will reach equilibrium pressure. So, I see what you're saying. So what you're saying is, how is it possible that we have an atmosphere in contact with a perfect or near perfect vacuum? I assume space is pretty near perfect vacuum.
Yeah, 10 to the minus 17 tall.
If you were to simulate that atmosphere on Earth, you would need a wall like 20 feet thick. Like
Exactly.
It's okay. So what you're saying is, how is it possible for the Earth to maintain an atmosphere next to the infinite void of perfect vacuum space?
Yes.
Yeah, if we ran an experiment on Earth for that, it would not be possible. You cannot have a perfect vacuum in contact with a pressurized volume.
Bingo.
Do you know what the curvature formula is by chance?
I could calculate it myself.
At 3 miles, the curvature is 6 feet. At 10 miles, it's 66 feet. Now, if we had a perfectly glass calm water day, cool, clear, no humidity, no pollution, so we have the best visibility, the farthest that horizon should be to a 6-foot observer is 3 miles away. Anything past that will start to get hidden behind a physical curve. Can you agree with that? But
Yes, that sounds correct.
And if I sat down, I'm now no longer 6 feet tall. That horizon's going to come even closer to me because I'm lower.
Correct.
Tall.
Your perspective is different. Yeah.
So we're going to show you some observations. Out here, there's no boat. You can't see a boat. So look carefully. Ready? So as we zoom in, we're increasing the angular size. So we're making our aperture bigger and bigger and bigger. And as we do, all of a sudden you see, oh, look, there is a boat there. Now my finger can't hide that whole boat. But if my finger was a wave in the foreground, as I zoom out, my finger is going to hide the whole boat. Okay? And these little waves in the foreground, the boat looks like it's going over the curvature. But you can agree that boat's not going over curvature.
Well, that's the model that we use in physics, correct?
Okay, so watch this. So it's going to reveal a buoy and a boat that wasn't previously visible, see? Now, my second question to you is, you just said that it's curving down and away from us in all directions. Now, if that's the case, then how come when we zoom in onto the horizon, the boat in the distance appears higher in elevation than the buoy? If it's curving down and away, the opposite should be true. The boat should appear lower than the buoy. If you zoom all the way in on curvature that's curving down and away, it should curve more down and away from you as you zoom in.
And then he put these lights at 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles, and 5 miles. Now that doesn't seem far. But at 6 miles away, the horizon should be 0.88 miles away, less than a mile away. That's the Earth curve calculator, and we're looking on ice. Okay?
Sorry, at 8 miles.
No.
Is that right on the surface of the water?
It's right on the ice.
Oh, I see.
And I think these are 6 inches off the ice. Right? But again, you have to watch the video. But again, 6 inches a foot isn't going to make a difference. Watch. At 8 miles, including an absurd amount of refraction, 30 feet, 22 feet, 15, and 9 feet behind the curve of the Earth. Remember? You can't see my mouth because it's behind the curve of the Earth. Okay?
Yes.
So if we look at it, we have two options. We got the camera on the ice, and it's looking at all of these things across the level ice. That's option number one. Option number two is the camera 6 inches off the ice at 0.88 miles away is the tangent of the Earth. It's skimming across the tangent, and all of these at nighttime with no humidity are refracting up and stopping exactly at that tangent line. None of them are going above. None of them are going below. They're just magically stopping at that tangent line. Option A, flat Earth. Option B, heliocentric religion.
Yeah, the only way to be able to see those multicolored lights would be to invoke refraction.
Or flat Earth.
Well, yes. I mean, again, there's two options here. So there's the absolute flat Earth, and that way you should be able to see them, assuming there's no density, obscuring, like the further you see. That's why we can't see Mount Everest from, eventually.
That's not why. Oh no, you can't because of the density. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Correct. So,
right.
Assuming the density is not an issue, it's a very low humidity day. Then the only way to see those lights are either, according to your theory, the Earth is perfectly flat, or there's some form of refraction that is bending around the Earth. And
Now,
but again, yeah, go ahead.
You got to take point, right, that this is on a frozen lake, so the refraction levels will be at a minuscule.
No, and I agree with that. They would be relatively minuscule.
This is super important, so please stay till the end. The Great Salt Lake here in Utah is about to explode, and when it does, it will kill all of Utah's residents and neighboring states. It's filled with arsenic, mercury, and lead right now. It hasn't rained, it hasn't snowed. The lake is drying up, causing it to recede. Whenever it recedes, carbon dioxide dissolves. It essentially builds up and dissolves, and then the bubbles start coming up and releases a very toxic gas, right? It's like gas and dust, and the dust will spread through all around Utah, which it already is, and neighboring states. It's about to explode, and a lot of people already know that, so please get out whenever you can.
Whoa! Huh. At first I thought this young woman was just doing some crazy propaganda video. But I thought, well, it kind of makes some sense. But plus she mentioned Tuela, or whatever, however you pronounce that, which is where that military base is, that the Mormons are the only ones allowed under there. They're all under oath, and we don't know what they're doing, but it's supposed to be, according to that Greer guy, one of the largest underground cities. And whatever they're doing, they may be making, these flying saucers or something, or who knows, building. And how Mormons are always talking about you got to have all this extra food to get through 3 years, at least 1 year or 2 or 3 years to get through this tribulation. They've all got food stored up. They're preparing for the end. Maybe that's a big underground city for all the uppity high priest Mormons to get saved. But I asked AI, is there dust coming from the Salt Lake killing people? And they, to my shock, said, as of 2026, research indicates, because today's the first day of 2026, that dust from the dying Great Salt Lake bed contains dying Great Salt Lake bed? That's an odd way to put it. Contains toxic substances that pose serious long-term health risks, including potential links to premature death, though it is not classified as an immediate mass casualty event. Well, can you imagine if it were that serious, that people were literally risking their lives? Would they tell all of the 1 million people there in Salt Lake, you gotta go, pack up and leave? I don't even think they would say anything if it was just a risk that several hundreds of people would get asthma every month, and new ones, and they just have to start being on respirators. People just keep on going, sucking their air through a straw. The primary health concern stems from the following factors: toxic content. The exposed lake bed, the playa, contains high concentrations of heavy metals such as arsenic, lead, mercury, and cadmium, largely due to a century of industrial mining and smelting. Notice that they claim that if you get just a little bit too much arsenic in your water, they shut the well down, and then they demand that you fill it with fluoride and chlorine, right? But if you get 10 times as much floating around in the air, well, they don't really say anything. But not only arsenic, lead, mercury, and cadmium, largely due to a century of industrial mining and smelting. Oh, so you see, if you thought it was just because Mother Nature's trying to kill you, right? It dried up and Mother Nature's killing you now. It's not. It's due to a century of industrial mining and smelting. So people love their gold, their mining, their heavy metals, their copper, their zinc, or whatever they're mining over there. They love that material to build the revolutionary industrial future and computer tech future, AI. They got to have it. So they'll just keep mining it until they die. Oh, progress is important, guys. Respiratory and cardiovascular risks. Inhaling these fine particles can cause immediate issues like asthma attacks and COPD. It can also lead to chronic inflammation. Chronic. In other words, you're just dying slowly, but you really don't know why. Nobody's ever told you, right? They didn't make an announcement over there in Salt Lake saying, hey, you guys, everybody's dying here slowly. So everybody, I'm going to look up to see if asthma and certain deaths are happening faster in Salt Lake than other places. I'll do that here in a minute. So it can be chronic inflammation, heart attacks, strokes, as toxins enter the bloodstream. Projected mortality. Recent economic and health models estimate that if lake levels continue to decline, The resulting dust exposure could lead to $1 billion in costs related to negative health outcomes and premature deaths over the next 20 years. Vulnerable populations, children under 6 years, are at the highest risk because they are more likely to ingest dust through hand-to-mouth contact and have higher respiratory rates related to their body size. So if you live in Salt Lake City and you have children, you're murdering your children by living there. If you don't know this, I get that. But once you find this out, you need to leave for the sake of your own children. Get out of the cities, all of them. I'm sure I could tell you that's probably worse in Philadelphia or New York or Los Angeles, where the pollution is in the air, right? But we're just talking about one city where they've done some mining and it's killing people. It had nothing to do with the lake. It has to do with the fact that they're mining those minerals over there. Current safety levels, while the dust is highly reactive, the Utah Department of Environment Quality noted in late 2025 that current airborne arsenic levels recorded at monitoring stations remain below the health threshold set by California standards. So here are the precautions for residents. Health experts recommend several actions during dust events to minimize exposure. Stay indoors during high wind events. If you see it's windy outside, get indoors. Use HEPA air filters in homes, HVAC systems. Wash produce thoroughly and practice frequent hand washing to prevent ingestion of settled dust. If it's that bad that you got to make sure you wash your hands in the vegetables that you eat, don't play outside. When the wind comes up, go inside. If it's that bad, they should tell everybody in Salt Lake City to leave. Monitor the real-time air quality. All right, so I'm going to ask them another couple questions. I said, a lady on TikTok said the lake is about to explode. Is that true? And they say the environmental nuclear bomb in 2022, Utah lawmakers and environmental experts began using this phrase to describe the potential for the lake's collapse to cause a massive regional public health and economic disaster. It refers to the fallout of toxic dust, not a literal explosion, a ticking time bomb. Researchers use this metaphor because the lake's decline is a slow crisis that could reach a tipping point. If the water levels drop too far, the protective salt crust on the lake bed will erode, releasing vast amounts of toxic dust into the air. Vast amounts. No methane risk. There is no scientific evidence that the lake contains enough pressurized gas or methane to cause a physical explosion. The danger is strictly toxic air pollution from heavy metals like arsenic and lead buried in the lake bed. I write, would you say that Salt Lake and around the city population is more dangerous than other cities? What cities have worse air or toxic water or gases? As of 2026, Salt Lake City consistently ranks among the most polluted cities in the United States. But it's generally not considered the most dangerous when compared to several California and Midwestern cities. Ozone pollution. 2025 ranking, Salt Lake City was named the 9th most polluted city in the nation for ozone. Cities' worst ozone includes Los Angeles and Visalia, California, and Phoenix. Particle pollution, soot and dust, currently ranks 25th worst for short-term particle spikes. Cities like Bakersfield, California, Fairbanks, Alaska, and Eugene, Oregon consistently have significantly worse year-round particle pollution. So it's worse in Oregon and Alaska even. What's going on in Fairbanks, Alaska? Why would they be dying up there from the dust and stuff? Any city in the world, it's toxic. Get out. Unique toxicity. While Salt Lake City may have lower total dust volume than some agricultural or industrial hubs, research suggests that Great Salt Lake dust is more toxic than typical desert dust. Cities that are worse, Bakersfield, California consistently ranked as #1 most polluted city in the U.S. for both year-round and short-term particle pollution. It's surrounded by mountains that trap toxic chemicals from farming and oil drilling. Oh, that's it. See, I was thinking, Bakersfield? What? What's going on in Bakersfield? They're all dying down there. Like, it's just a small area, but it's from oil drilling. Oh my god. And agriculture? You really think that planting beans or, plants is going to cause danger, Will Rogers? Danger, Will Rogers. You're planting herbs and flowers and that's danger. No, it's Monsanto. Yeah, it is the stuff they're putting in the ground that is not only killing you when you eat the food, but it's killing you in the air when they're, so can you imagine the agriculture going throughout the whole Midwest and all, Nebraska? It's all polluted, the air, just from the chemicals they're putting in the ground. Oh, buddy. And oil rigs are all through Texas and North Dakota and South Dakota and all the places they're drilling oil, the Gulf. I mean, it's what? Louisiana and Alabama's probably getting pummeled by the toxic waste that they're doing from the drilling in the Gulf. And, have you ever been through Birmingham? I mean, these big smokestacks. I think that's why Houston's so polluted. Birmingham, Alabama was the most disgusting place you go through on the freeway. Other places is beautiful around there, but the smokestacks and the, up going north, up into Pittsburgh and St. Louis and all the, up into Kentucky, those, where they're burning coal and stuff. I know in Kentucky, Philadelphia, all this is just industrial smoke and pollution. I guarantee it. Los Angeles, California, remains the worst city in the nation for ozone pollution, smog, holding this title for 25 out of the last 26 years. Detroit, Michigan, and Cleveland, Ohio, these industrial hubs have recently entered the top 10 for the worst year-round particle pollution due to industrial emissions and the impact of wildfire smoke. Wildfire? Houston, Texas ranks in the top 10 for ozone and faces significant toxic air risks due to the massive concentration of petrochemical refineries and industrial activity. So think about this. Phoenix, Los Angeles, that's the south. Anywhere you go in the southwest. Texas, Houston, that obviously means all of the cities down there because they're all near each other. And then you've got Ohio, Chicago, and Detroit and all of that area that's all so bad that it's in the top 10. Guys, and all with Alaska. And you say, yeah, but Atlanta, Georgia didn't mention Atlanta, Georgia, and Florida. Well, Atlanta, Georgia, and Florida are about to get hit by hurricanes and tornadoes and all kinds of other crazy things that they're planning. So then I write, is water drinkable in every city? And they say in 2026, while over 90% of the U.S. population receives water from community systems that meet federal safety standards, and by the way, those federal safety standards means they put chlorine and fluoride and all these bad chemicals in the water that will slowly kill you. But tap water is not drinkable in every city due to aging infrastructure, contamination, or localized emergencies. So think about that. You got children that their mothers are running around out of their mind on some drugs, and the father's gone because he got to kill some people in the gang violence that day, and they're just children, little poor babies just running around. They're thirsty. They drink the tap water, of course. I mean, there's literally water coming out of a spout in every one of these trashed out slums. Dirty, filthy little holes in the wall with garbage and putrid, disgusting. I mean, I driven through quite a few. They'll have blankets for windows and trash in the front yard. The front yard's about 2 feet width and a foot breadth. And there's the sidewalk, and they're just strung out with people lying around, needles laying everywhere. And this is millions of people in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., and Detroit and Pittsburgh and Chicago and all of these places, New York. And they're just lying around dying. And you say, well, we get our water from the store, Dave. We buy mineral water, right? From the dollar store. It's only $1.29. So they ain't got no excuse. They just need to go buy their water like everybody else. Well, the children, first of all, don't know that. And their parents are clinically dead in the mind, laying around in the streets with needles laying on the ground. Children are just running around, not even a diaper probably. And there's no sign next to the water faucet in your slum hole saying, this is toxic water, do not drink. I mean, they assume that you could drink it once in a while, probably better not to. Even little children probably know, oh, that water don't taste good, Mommy. You know, but they're drinking it. Millions and millions of people are drinking. So it goes there's a little thing called a faucet. Goes into your bathroom. Not only does it flush your toilet, but it goes into your bathtub and your shower, and you're soaking in it. You're soaking in chemicals, cadmium and arsenic and fluoride and chlorine, because they got to pump a lot of that stuff in there. Right? This is horrid. I mean, never before in the history of man have the children been so vulnerable, lying around drinking poison water, breathing poison air, playing on poison ground. The dust itself is poison. It's disgusting. Do you think that the Lord is going to just sit back, Joshua, and wait until we all get our pineal gland decalcified and we start going in the corner and we fix all this? We ain't got that kind of time, man. We ain't got that kind of time. The world is coming to an end. And I'm about to share with you the history that led up to that. Here you go.
No one knew the dreams of 1913 would burn in the fires of 1914.
Trump has a New Year's message for the world. America wants fewer illegal drugs, an end to wars, and more peace and prosperity. But don't be fooled. He will do what it takes to get there. He put Iran on serious notice yesterday.
I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading, that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites.
Iran's regime facing big problems at home. Massive protests there, the biggest in 3 years over the country's horrific economy and continued political repression. Iranian security forces responding with batons and tear gas last night. Former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett posting this rallying cry to the protesters.
The Iranian people have a glorious past, and they can have an even more glorious future. That future depends on each and every one of you. So to all the brave men and women now rising up across your country, all the nations of the free world stand with you in your just struggle. Change is possible.
Iran, as well as Hamas, was top of the list on the agenda when Prime Minister Netanyahu visited Mar-a-Lago yesterday. Lucas Tomlinson has more from West Palm Beach, Florida. It's been a busy holiday week, Lucas.
It sure has, Julie. Good morning. It was the 5th time the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited with President Trump in the United States, this time at Mar-a-Lago. It's also looking to be the last foreign leader to visit with President Trump this year. And any potential reported rift between the two leaders seemed to be put to rest yesterday when the president said this about Hamas.
We talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament. And they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm. If they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay.
Nothing subtle there, Julie. Now, today, the Treasury Department announcing new sanctions on 10 individuals and entities based in Venezuela and Iran, including a Venezuelan company that has contributed to Iran's drone trade with Venezuela. The announcement comes one day after President Trump admitted the U.S. was behind the strike, destroying suspected drug boats moored in Venezuela earlier this month, marking the first strikes ashore. U.S. forces have now launched strikes in Venezuela, Nigeria, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, Iran, Iraq, the Caribbean, and Eastern Pacific this year. That's part of the president's Peace Through Strength initiative. Netanyahu was the second world leader to visit the winter White House in as many days. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine sat down with our colleague Brett Baer in an exclusive interview and reacted to Trump saying Putin wants Ukraine to succeed. Here's the interview.
You don't agree with that?
No, it's not about agree. I don't trust Russians, and they don't want. I don't trust Putin, and he doesn't want success for Ukraine.
And combat operations continue in Syria. Just a few minutes ago, the U.S. Central Command, responsible for all American forces in the Middle East, said U.S. and partnered forces, likely Syrian forces, have been battling ISIS and have killed or captured 25 ISIS fighters in the past 2 weeks since those American airstrikes hit 70 ISIS targets in Syria after those 2 American soldiers from the Iowa National Guard and their American interpreter were killed this month. Julie?
Lucas Tomlinson, thank you.
Saying they don't even speak Persian. They're chanting to the security and the police, support us. And meanwhile, of course, the guy was saying that they don't even speak Persian. How much are you aware of this tactic that they use in Iran during the crackdowns, bringing in people from Iraq or back in the day, obviously Syria, not anymore, to help with the crackdown? Do they have many proxies in Iran?
Okay, so this is actually a great question. So the regime has a protocol set in place, should things go south, and it definitely went south. I would argue west. We'll come to that later. Khamenei, I think, is literally has lost his grip on power. Look, several things happened that I found very interesting. The first thing was that Basij did not, get into play. And you know as well as I do that normally this is what happens. They use Basij, they make a few arrests, they scare people, they shoot, a few live bullets, not too many, because they don't want to create more of a situation, just enough for people to go home and be scared.
We want to bring back in live Professor Avi Loeb tonight, renowned theoretical physicist, Harvard professor, head of the Galileo Project. Professor Loeb, always good to see you. And, first, Professor, you've also been calling on NASA to release the image. The government is back open. No image. What do you make of this?
Well, thanks for having me. I was told by two sources that, in fact, NASA plans to release those images in a few days, in the middle of next week. So let's just keep our fingers crossed, because these should be the highest resolution images. And also, they should be from the side of those outflows that will give us much more information, because 3i Atlas passed within 29 million kilometers from Mars when the images were taken back on October 2nd to 3rd. And that offered an unusual opportunity to get a high-resolution view of it. The case that was made is that they required some processing these images, and therefore they could not have been made public during the government shutdown. I prefer to believe that storyline than any conspiracy theories at this time.
When 3i Atlas made its closest pass by Earth, nothing dramatic happened in the sky. No flash, no visible spectacle, no moment most people would ever notice. And that silence is exactly why this moment matters. Because while the object is already moving away at tens of kilometers per second, heading irreversibly back into interstellar space, the data it left behind has only just begun to speak. And what that data is telling us does not sit comfortably with what we expected to see.
We're just getting reports of a volcanic explosion.
One day, the world will end. This is the story of just one day.
The object will hit Earth in around 5 hours.
With 5 different endings.
The virus is considered highly contagious.
If you have any of the following symptoms,
Each predicted by scientists.
We're just getting unconfirmed reports of a giant wave heading across the Atlantic.
What's the worst that could happen in just one day?
Directors of the project say that they will go ahead with the experiment and could cause the destruction of the Earth.
One day. 5 endings. One end day.
They come down in capsules, riding the lightning into the ground, into the machines, right?
goodness, I've never seen a moon that big. Honestly, you probably couldn't tell in this camera, but it's the biggest moon I've ever seen. I've seen some big ones. I guess it's full too. Boy, oh boy, is that a big old moon. And what's crazy is on the other side, I've got this crazy thing going on here. What? Isn't that weird? Like a fire. But it's... This is crazy. I've never seen anything like that. Oh, well. Gonna go ahead and go, guys. Hope you have a wonderful evening. Lord loves you. See you tomorrow. Have a good one.